In this video, we're going to take a look at Hiroto Ogiwara's snowboarding technique to see what kind of principles he's using in order to go and strive and ride at the highest level possible. The thing that really stands out to me about his snowboarding is his ability to use the stack position in a full range of motion. This makes it so he can go and really stomp, absorb a lot of impact, and use a lot of disconnect between his upper and lower body, but really opens up his ability to use continued rotation and counter rotation. And the principles he's using here, even though he's using them on very advanced tricks, are actually applicable to any level of snowboarding. So even if you're doing 360s, 720s, board slides, what he's doing is worth studying and bringing in and incorporating into your own riding. Let's start with this trick, the hard way backside 270 on, same way out. This is one of the hardest tricks you can do on a snowboard, but the things he's doing is making it a lot easier. The first thing he's doing is making sure he's approaching the rail with a lot of angle. This is making it so he doesn't need to worry about jumping up and onto the rail because the angle of his board will make it so his momentum naturally carries him on, simplifying the trick. The next thing he's doing is making sure that his upper body is fully extending up. He's not rotating through the jump, instead he's using his body to generate lift. This is because if you rotate too soon on a hard way spin, you're going to clip the front of a rail, and that breaks your board every time and results in some really gnarly slams. And the last thing he's doing to make this safer is adding a little bit of a nollie. Technically, you can do this off the tail, but adding your weight shifted slightly to the front foot for this trick will make it so your back foot's lifting first, making it less likely to clip the front of the rail, and that's going to make it more forgiving. And the only way he can pull this all together is by making sure that his upper body is really leading the rotation, and then once the board's over the rail, he's utilizing counter rotation to bring everything back aligned. And as he's doing this, he's maintaining the same balanced point. So because he's spinning hard way, he needs to make sure that his upper body is countered balanced by pulling more forward in order to make sure his balance point is over the balls of his feet. Because as he rotates the 270, he's going to be shifting and landing in this position right here. So he wants to keep the balance as similar to that as possible. He's doing this by making sure that his chin is tucked into his core. This keeps a little bit of tension here, a little bit of bend in the legs, and that's going to keep him balanced and make it so as he rotates, he comes back into that balance point. Watch his head here. See how he's going and keeping it pretty much completely centered, vision down, not looking over the arm. A big mistake people make when spinning is trying to look up and around, what elongates you. But you need to make sure that your spot is down and your head is connected towards the center of your body, so you can keep this little bit of bend in your core and keep that core activated, what will help you come into the landing. And look at how he absorbs this impact. As he absorbs it, he goes and sucks in his legs, but he maintains the same balanced position. This is why some people can go and squat down and absorb so much impact on rails. It's because as they go and squat down, their center of mass is actually at the exact same point. It's just being put there in a different way. So this has the same center of balance as this position right here. It's just a more extreme version of it. Then he goes and continues his momentum by letting his upper body come around, delays the board a little bit by letting the upper body lead, and then utilizes counter rotation and digs in that toe edge like crazy. This is something he's so good at, and that's committing to the landing no matter what. He's using pretty much exactly the same principles here for this back three on, front one out. The main difference is because it's not hard way, he's able to get a more casual takeoff off the tail. And notice how he's not worried about making full contact. He's not worried about getting that perfect straight line. Instead, his priority is making sure that his upper body is in a stacked position, balanced, and his arms leading, so he can go set up, rotate, and utilize a little bit of counter rotation to stop his rotational energy. The reason why he can go and pull it back is because he didn't go and rotate too much. By letting his front arm come back across his body, he's actually slowing down his maximum rotation velocity, and that's what's letting him go and land in this position and then take his upper body and pull it back. Really cool, and this is where he really shines on the jumps. And look at this landing, bam! Wheelie out, so crazy. You know it's a pretty gnarly jump to do a back triple on if this guy is making it look that hard, because he sure is good. Why is it so challenging? Just because of the spring conditions and probably a little bit of a shape. But when it's spring like this, you need to really make sure that you're light on your edge so your edge doesn't dig in. And this is going to really limit your form. So how does he counter this? First, he goes and makes sure that his board is really angled towards that right corner of a jump. This opens his hips and opens his chest, well, giving him a big platform to go and transition his turn out of. But this isn't quite enough. We can see that his edge digs in a little bit too much and he starts gripping. So as he goes and snaps his spin, he actually goes and tries to flatten the base of his snowboard. So instead of continuing on that line and pushing off, he's now going and slipping off, what's going to make it so he doesn't go and start drifting, and instead he comes off that straight point. And that just goes to show you that if you go and have good timing and good positioning and don't need to worry about being too tall to clip your heel edge, you can be a little bit more forgiving and loose with this takeoff. This isn't the best takeoff in the world, but it's consistent, it's powerful, and most importantly, it's putting his upper body in the perfect position it needs to be in order to go and generate the spin. Then as he snaps it, he's keeping his head nice and centered, and then as the rotation continues, he now keeps increasing how much he's dipping towards that back leg, with the most dip being on this last rotation because he's trying to increase the flip to spin ratio. And for landing here, he's doing what we call the airplane landing, where he goes and sets down his tail first. This works best when you have a stiff board, and what it does is it stops your rotation in its tracks. You're basically using your board to jam into the snow in order to stop that momentum. But this alone wouldn't be enough to kill the rotation on a backside triple, and that's why he's keeping his upper body rotated 90. This is the same principles he was using on the rail for counter rotation, and that makes it so as he lands, he has a bit more rotational room in his upper body to disperse that energy. So as he goes and absorbs the impact, he now has his upper body come back to neutral as he tries to kill that rotation. And then as he squats down, his center of balance maintains the same point over the balls of his feet. This front blunt samely, classic example of him fully utilizing these principles to the fullest. Super exaggerated bend of the legs, bend of the body, but see how he's going and making sure that his head's tucked here, so even though he has this much rounding, this much bend, his center of balance is still set at this point. You'll also notice that his arms are really neutral even though he's doing a 450 out. This is actually crucial. Because he's going and making sure that his arms are in a neutral position, even a little under rotated, this makes it so as he hits the rail, he can now use his upper body to start generating rotational momentum. And instead of trying to connect everything and spin like he would off a jump, instead he's letting his upper body completely lead and push and exaggerate this whole way through. And then he's utilizing counter rotation to get that actual spin around. So he's only generating around 90 degrees of rotational energy with this upper body, and then he's utilizing counter rotation to finish it off. And the only reason this is possible is because of his head positioning. See how it's spotting forward? Continue to watch that. Spotting forward, and as he travels past the point he was spotting, he keeps his head on it, making it so he spots looking back uphill, and this is what lets him dig in his edge and make sure he doesn't over-rotate to his heels and stomps it. Super solid back 10. Oh, front 14. This is really cool. So a front 14 like this seems like a really intimidating technical trick, and it is, but he's actually breaking it down in a way that makes it a lot more approachable. So as he snaps his rotation, he's throwing upwards, but he's going and over snapping it a little bit, making it a slightly more downward spin. This is just going to make it so the rotation is easier to pull into and a bit quicker, and it puts him on this axis here. This axis for like a front dub 10 wouldn't be too ideal, but the reason why this is fine is because he's now going to keep his head centered and pull along with his whole body, getting that extra 360 in there. So see how his head's maintaining this neutral position and he's going and pulling along the spin. And then once he's here, this position is completely the same as like a cab underflip or the second half of a dub back 10, because now he's finishing in an upward snap. And that's one of the reasons why it was so beneficial for him to go and start with this over snapped rotation, because that made it so his rotation, instead of being upwards here, was more set downwards, and that let him continue so he could finish on an upward rotation. Where like a front dub 10, you usually finish on a downward rotation, which is a lot more blind and a lot harder to control. But from here, he just needs to pull in over that shoulder, continue pulling more as a spin than a flip because he's going to bring it to 14. And this now is a very comfortable feeling that he's been in so many times before. Then he utilizes counter rotation by letting his legs keep rotating as he keeps his head stationary, landing looking back uphill, digging in that toe edge, and fully utilizing his range of motion in his body to eat that impact. This trick out here, exactly the same principles, but slightly different because he's actually continuing his momentum. See how his upper body continues spinning through here, channeling that momentum? This is the difference between like the 450 out and the 910 out he's doing here, is the 450 was done completely through counter rotation, where this is being done almost completely through rotation. So the principles are pretty much the same. He's landing in basically the same position, but he's not having that little second of stalling and delaying. Instead, he's keeping that upper body rotating the whole time, and that way he goes and snaps off and tightens everything, and now he's rotating everything all connected, not utilizing counter rotation until the last 180. That's because when you use counter rotation, the limit's really 180, and if you're really extreme, you can get it up to 270, 360, but 180 is the most comfortable range of counter rotation. So if you're trying to combine counter rotation with a trick this big, 180 is really going to be the max you can use. And my favorite trick he does in this whole edit is this. Very simple, but very cool, and actually really technical. What he's doing here is a front lip, standard front lip to the front foot, switching to the back foot, and then backward same way out. So normally when you do a front lip, you want to immediately be adding counter rotation. So upper body's here, and then you'd pull it across. But instead, he's landing in a neutral position, and more than that, he's actually pulling it slightly towards his back foot. So see, as he hits his front foot, his upper body's still in motion this way, so he's adding a little bit of continued momentum. Combine that with a perfect stack position, that's a platform to go and rotate the upper body and the hips. Now he just needs to let that upper body continue the momentum a little bit, and now shift towards that back foot, and now he's locked in here with his standard backboard same way position. Now he goes and loads his weight on that back foot, lets his upper body continue that rotation all the way through, maintain a stationary head position, and as he snaps off the end, he just finishes it off with a little bit of counter rotation. So that's the takeaway I want you to have from this video. Even though these pro riders are doing super technical tricks that seem hard to grasp, the base mechanics they're using are the same as you'd be using on a backside board slide, a 360. They're just tweaked and exaggerated to the point where they can do these extreme tricks. So I challenge you to go and focus on your fundamentals, think about how you can improve them, how you can implement them, because once you go and have a strong base, you'll be able to go and twist it and mold it to whatever trick you want to do, and you'll spend a lot less time trying and a lot more time doing. If you like more videos like this one, let me know in the comments below, and we'll be back at it with another video soon.